Black rain is descending upon Tehran. This is not a metaphor, it's a literal occurrence. Clouds saturated with oil are enveloping a city of 9 million residents after relentless American and Israeli airstrikes transformed Iran's oil depots into raging infernos, obscuring the sun. Sewage lines are ablaze, and flames surge through the streets like flowing rivers. Meanwhile, in Washington, the individual who authorized this devastation picks up the phone, contacts ABC News, and declares, "I am not worried about anything at all." This is our current reality. The President of the United States has initiated a war that has, for the first time in 80 years, closed the Strait of Hormuz, sent energy markets spiraling, resulted in the deaths of American soldiers whose names were read on national television this past weekend, and provoked retaliatory strikes from Tehran to Tel Aviv, Bahrain, and Kuwait. His response? It is a little glitch. We had to take this detour. A detour? This is how the commander-in-chief describes a conflict engulfing the entire Middle East, creating scenes reminiscent of the Book of Revelation, and prompting Iran's foreign minister to assert on American television, "No, we are not interested in your ceasefire. Not this time." In the next few minutes, I will illustrate precisely how this situation spiraled out of control. I will highlight 3 key moments from this weekend that encapsulate the trajectory of this conflict and explain why the world you woke up in today is fundamentally more perilous than the one you fell asleep in just a week ago. Consider it this way. If someone instigated a fight with you, physically overpowered you, and then offered a handshake, only to strike you again the moment you accepted, how many times would you extend your hand before refusing to do so again? Share your thoughts in the comments, as this reflects the calculation Iran just made on live American television, and it alters everything. Let's rewind the clock, as the rapid pace of this conflict has obscured the sequence of critical events. The United States and Israel commenced strikes against Iran, targeting military installations and subsequently oil infrastructure. Multiple independent investigations by Reuters, CNN, and the New York Times reported that an elementary school in southern Iran was struck, resulting in over 170 fatalities, including many children. Initially, Iran accepted a ceasefire. They exhibited restraint and framed their actions as self-defense. When the aggression ceased, they also halted their responses. However, hostilities resumed. More strikes on hospitals, refineries, and freshwater desalination plants, essential infrastructure in a region where clean water is more strategically vital than oil. This time, Tehran analyzed the pattern, reflected on the ceasefire it had previously accepted, and recognized the consequences that followed. Consequently, Iran made a different choice. This time, they said no. That one word is now reshaping the entire conflict, because Washington's strategy was predicated on the belief that Iran would eventually capitulate, that the pressure would become unbearable, and that the regime would crumble. Instead, Iran is retaliating with ballistic missiles, Shahed drones, and cluster munitions striking Tel Aviv and its neighboring cities, as well as retaliatory strikes on desalination plants in Bahrain, mirroring the attacks they endured. The United States currently lacks a visible exit strategy. Now let's examine the 3 critical moments from this weekend that reveal just how chaotic this situation has become. Moment 1, the ABC interview. Donald Trump speaks with Mary Bruce at ABC News. She poses straightforward questions any wartime president should be prepared to answer. Are you concerned about the risk to Americans at home? Are you worried about potential terrorist retaliation from Iran? Are you anxious about the economic fallout, rising gas prices, and their impact on everyday families? His response, quoted directly, is, "I'm not worried about anything at all. I think it is fine. It is a little glitch. We had to take this detour. I knew exactly what was going to happen with the detour." A detour? An unlawful war where American soldiers have already returned home in flag-draped coffins, and the Middle East is ablaze from end to end, yet the president refers to it as a detour. In the same conversation, he states that everything is on the table, including ground forces and reports of special operations being dispatched to Iran to seize enriched uranium. Perhaps the most revealing statement comes when Trump asserts that if Iran selects its next Ayatollah without consulting him, the new one will not last long. He aims to handpick the supreme leader of a sovereign nation with 90 million inhabitants. This is not strategy. It is delusion masquerading as strength. Moment 2. The Lindsey Graham Doctrine. Trump sends Graham onto the morning talk shows, resulting in one of the most unsettling television segments produced during this entire conflict. Graham appears on camera wearing a hat that reads, "Free Cuba," and another that states, "Make Iran Great." He delivers what can only be described as a wartime infomercial. We are marching through the world. We are cleaning out the bad guys. Iran is going down, and Cuba is next. Let that sink in. A sitting U.S. senator, during an active war that has already claimed American lives, is promoting the next war before this one is anywhere near completion. He praises Trump as the greatest commander-in-chief of all time and states, "Just wait to see what comes in the next 2 weeks. We are going to blow the hell out of these people." He then addresses America's Arab allies, countries whose infrastructure is being devastated in this crossfire, saying, "If you want a treaty with the United States, you need to get involved in this fight." This is not diplomacy. It is extortion with a merchandise table. The fact that Graham promotes the expansion of wars while wearing branded hats illustrates who is truly driving the strategy here. The answer is nobody. Moment 3. The Fox News cover-up. This instance is quieter, but perhaps the most revealing. During the dignified transfer at Dover this weekend, where the remains of 6 American service members returned home, Donald Trump attended wearing his $55 campaign hat, the same hat currently available on his website, at a solemn ceremony for soldiers who perished in his war. Fox News broadcast the event but did not air the actual ceremony. Instead, they showed footage from a previous dignified transfer from Trump's first term where he was not wearing the campaign hat. They were caught and issued an on-air correction, labeling it an inadvertent error. However, when has Fox News ever accidentally made the president appear more dignified? The names of those 6 Americans deserve to be honored without a sales pitch in the background. Captain Cody Cork, Sergeant First Class Nicole Moore, Sergeant First Class Noah Tenz, Sergeant Declan Cody, Major Jeffrey O'Brien, Chief Warrant Officer 3, Robert Marzison, each one a hero, none of them a prop. If this analysis is connecting dots you haven't seen assembled elsewhere, you are already ahead of most viewers following this situation. Subscribe right now. This conflict is escalating faster than any single outlet can monitor, and I will continue to break it down every day. You need to be here for the next development. Now, here's what many people are overlooking. While Trump and Graham project invincibility on American television, Iran's foreign minister appeared on Meet the Press this morning and delivered a message the White House clearly did not anticipate: calm, calculated defiance. Most nations, when confronted with the full force of American military might, scramble to negotiate. Iran, however, did the opposite. The foreign minister articulated the logic with surgical precision. "Last time you attacked us, we accepted the ceasefire in good faith. You used that pause to rearm and attack us again. You bombed our schools, hospitals, and water supply. So no, we are not accepting another ceasefire. This does not work like that. There should be a permanent end to the war. And until we achieve that, we will continue fighting for our people and our security." This is not mere bravado. It is a negotiating position grounded in pattern recognition. Iran observed the consequences of its prior restraint and learned from it. While Trump reassures Americans that he is not worried about anything, Iran is communicating to the world that it has made a strategic decision to prolong this conflict, to absorb the punishment, and to keep retaliating, making this war so costly and protracted that the pressure shifts back onto Washington. Evidence suggests this strategy is already effective. The Strait of Hormuz, through which approximately 20% of the world's oil flows, is effectively shut down. Kuwait's petroleum chief reports that tanker traffic has plummeted to nearly zero for the first time in 80 years. Iraqi oil production has decreased by 60%. Qatar has halted liquefied natural gas production. Iran has targeted Kuwait's social security building and struck Bahrain's desalination plants following the U.S. destruction of theirs. Furthermore, despite senior Israeli officials publicly claiming that Abu Dhabi was assisting in strikes against Iran, the UAE issued a furious denial, calling those Israeli statements damaging to their relationship and insisting that the Emiratis are operating purely defensively. You do not confront a superpower by matching its firepower. Instead, you make the war costly enough that the superpower's own populace begins to question why. So, what does this mean for you? If you fill up your car, you will soon feel the impact. If you purchase groceries, you will notice the difference. If you have a retirement account, you are about to see the effects. Analysts predict that food, energy, airline transport, and insurance sectors in both the Consumer Price Index, CPI, and Producer Price Index, PPI, will be severely impacted, potentially pushing overall consumer price inflation above 4% by April or May. The shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz alone is sufficient to send energy markets into prolonged turmoil. Once supply chains are rerouted and companies adjust to new shipping routes and energy sources, these changes will not simply revert to normal when a ceasefire is signed 6 months later. The economic damage will become embedded, and jobs will follow the new pathways, not return to the old ones. Where do we go from here? There are 3 plausible scenarios, none of which are straightforward. Scenario 1, a managed off-ramp. Back-channel pressure from Gulf states, European allies, and American business interests compels a genuine ceasefire, not merely a pause. Both sides claim victory. Trump labels it the greatest deal ever made, while Iran tells its citizens they stood firm. The Strait of Hormuz reopens, markets stabilize, but the structural damage remains. The Gulf states that witnessed their desalination plants and oil infrastructure destroyed will never again fully trust this security architecture. The off-ramp exists, but the path leading to it is already scorched. Scenario 2, regional realignment. Other Middle Eastern nations, observing the UAE's denial of involvement, Kuwait's economic collapse, and Bahrain's water supply being targeted, begin to make their own assessments. They start hedging, quietly forging deeper ties with China, India, and any nation not currently bombing their neighbors. A new network forms, not explicitly anti-American, but no longer reflexively aligned with Washington. The United States remains the dominant player in the room, but it is no longer the unquestioned center. The monopoly on strategic loyalty fractures, and once it fractures, it does not reassemble. Scenario 3, full escalation. This is the scenario no one wants to articulate, but Lindsey Graham has already done so. Ground forces and special operations could be deployed inside Iran, attempting regime change in a nation of 90 million people with fortified military infrastructure and a populace that, regardless of their opinion of their own government, will not welcome American soldiers. Cuba is added to the list, and the doctrine of marching through the world becomes actual operational policy. Allies are compelled to choose sides, the global economy fragments, and the war that began as a minor glitch evolves into the defining catastrophe of a generation. Here is what I know for certain. Whatever transpires next, the framework that sustained the Middle East for the past several decades will not revert to its previous state. Even if Trump changes course tomorrow, the lesson has been ingrained in Iran, the Gulf states, and every mid-sized power observing this situation unfold. The lesson is brutally simple. Never place all your strategic eggs in one basket, for that basket may be handed to someone who refers to a regional war as a detour and wears a campaign hat to a funeral. Iran did not instigate this conflict, but its foreign minister has conveyed to the world on American television that Tehran has no intention of concluding it on Washington's terms. Trump has not constructed an exit strategy. He has built a merchandise line. Lindsey Graham has not proposed a military doctrine. He has laid out a world tour of destruction with a gift shop at the end. So I will leave you with this. Did Trump break the Middle East, or did the Middle East simply stop pretending that the old arrangement still functioned? Is Iran's refusal to accept another ceasefire a demonstration of strategic patience or a perilous gamble that could engulf the entire region? And when a U.S. senator declares, "We are marching through the world," does anyone in Washington truly comprehend where that march leads? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe, because the next chapter of this, whether it involves the Hormuz standoff, the decision on ground forces, the Gulf realignment, or the inflation shock poised to impact your grocery bill, is approaching rapidly. This story is not slowing down. Do not look away. This content serves as commentary and analysis for informational purposes only. It does not constitute financial, legal, or geopolitical advice. Consult qualified experts before making any decisions based on the events discussed.